And the superstars everywhere in this room. I'm looking across at the two-time Brownlow medal-winning superstar Chris Judd. Welcome, Juddy.
Thank you, JB.
Just getting
Thanks for having me.
more corporate every time you wander in here. Now you're fully suited, like you've just walked off the stock exchange floor.
Well, I let a few blokes off the hook with maybe a dressed-down version, so I just thought it was time to step it up again.
Oh, and doing it very nicely too. And trailing a long way back from there is the purple-headed warrior. Welcome, Damo.
He's got the red tie on today, Jim, which is better than the European jacket he had on a couple of weeks ago.
Jim, the big Triple M family out there listening tonight mightn't quite understand. Damo wrote a very pointed article at Brad Scott and said that it was poor and that he's stubborn and that he won't admit that he handled it poorly.
Yep.
Have you had a conversation with Brad Scott about that?
No, I haven't, Dust, but I've been made aware that he wasn't happy with it, which happens probably on a weekly basis in this game.
You've turned on your club warrior.
No, Chief, and this is why it annoys me when Hutchie bangs on about me with this thing. I'd like to think I call it the way I see it on whatever's in front of you. And if that means that you've got to go hard at people you actually like and fully respect, you have to sometimes.
How much would you love to be there the first time Brad Scott runs into Warrior?
Oh,
that would be good viewing.
I'd be going the other way.
I hope there's a lot of other people around, Chief, because I think that's my only hope, that he may not do what he wants to do if there's people around.
I'd be getting in the other direction quick.
and there's an unease in the studio, Chief. I must admit, there's a shuffling in the chairs.
Purple and I, we've already had it out.
He hasn't worn his scarf in tonight.
You've had it out already.
We've already had it
And
out
who
over
won?
this one. I was comprehensive.
Oh, Warrior!
Oh, no, that's not true. But
Chief, you know that's not true.
And I see here the chieftain a long way back, just in a lounge suit sort of set up.
It's called a
Pajamas.
tracksuit that I'll be wearing on the couch tonight
Will
Jim,
you?
when I'm
Just
watching the footy.
Straight there. And this man, who we haven't seen, I think it must be a 6 to 8 week hiatus he's had, because no one's laid eyes on him. But in his absence, we treated him kindly.
This is the very, very same Luke Darcy that arrived back from Rio this morning.
Yep,
Not here, Jim.
not here.
No, not here. So, to the Duke, I just need to summarise his character first. He's an insipid, yellow, lily-livered, cowardly, craven skunk of a string bean. He has no sense of mateship, Jim, not an absolute skerrick of team ethos.
None.
And I think the simplest way we can state this to Duke is just to say, Duke, you are no longer required. You're done. You may ship off. He's getting carried away with himself.
Where, how?
He thinks he's important.
Where?
Well, maybe where they make big pipes. I don't know. Got to drag something thin through them to clean them, Jim. But
So that was just a
Now-
taste, Duke, of what, in your absence, we went with.
that's been taken out of context. Sorely out of context.
Taken out of context.
Do you know what you know with Chief? Because you very rarely get any warmth from this man at all.
No.
But even he enjoyed his own work.
No,
He did.
yeah,
he did.
You know what happened then?
He had to look out the other way because he was laughing
he
at
was
his
enjoying
own.
it.
At his own
Tell you what
humour.
happened. I'll tell you what happened.
You'll put up to it, will you?
No, well, I had a script thrust down in front of me by Brayshaw. He said, read this, get it done, and then we'll be able to move on.
Lily-livered, yellow coward.
I didn't mind that bit, Chief.
You're dead to us, I think was the term. You are a giant tall, Chief.
Bit of poetic license,
There is
Duke,
no
come
other
on.
way. No, I know everyone missed me. I
We
know
missed
that
you.
there was
We did miss you.
a lot of warmth here in the room for me. And
Jeez, you had a decent-sized absence, Duke.
Someone had to get over there, Jim, and work
Right.
flat out for the
Yes.
M's on the
Who
ground
was
in Rio.
that?
And I'm not
Rosie?
sure who it was yet.
Rosemary?
It certainly wasn't me. I couldn't have a better time. If you ever get a chance, Juddy, I could picture you on Copacabana Beach in a G-banger, just strutting your way down the beach. Great place. People are great. All of the negative rubbish about you might get shot over there, no problems at all. Great town. Recommend you get over there.
And Ryan Lochte just travelling beautifully.
Speaking of making tools of
Yeah,
yourself,
that's it.
and I thought the locals were good because they have enough drama over there. They don't need someone making it up to go with
Yep.
it. And the ugly American came out in that man, and he got found out. I'm told he has to go back there, which I wouldn't be advising.
No, stay there. Now, what was the highlight for you, please?
Highlight, without doubt, was being in the stadium when Bolt won the 100 metres. It was just a magical moment. No cooler man has ever been in the sport of athletics. How relaxed he was. He would have spent 2 hours celebrating afterwards. Went round and high-fived everyone in the crowd. It was pretty special to be there.
I
for that.
was lucky enough to have done that in London. What about the deathly silence before the crack of the gun when they get in the blocks and he does the old shh just before he gets
Everyone
down?
be quiet.
The entire joint just goes deathly quiet.
And for a place that's not his home, to see every single person in that stadium, eyes focused on one person, and the whole Olympics for me rode on whether or not he was going to win with Gatlin, obviously, in his story. So how relaxed and how good he is at getting it done is just extraordinary.
And then the trash spoken to the American relay team after that too. Just can't handle the pressure. He's in with the Japanese team who can't even get a runner into the final, managed to do their baton changes. But the Yanks, I mean, I just love how he just doesn't care.
And I think he celebrated pretty well with his last 2 or 3 days on the ground over there. I don't think he missed too many on his way out the door. So he nailed it. And
Normally over there, well, I don't know anything about Rio, but the Olympics I've been to, Duke, they have like Oakley will have a party house, and Heineken will have a party. A lot of the big Nike will have a party house. Was that the same thing?
yeah, Heineken House was the place to be downtown in Copacabana. Omega had a party. Unfortunately for the Australians, and this is what I can't believe. If you trained for 4 years and you're an Olympic athlete and you've been over there, and this is one of my... We're banned from hitting the nightlife because we're very overzealous, chef de mission. Could you imagine if you'd been over there and trained for 4 years? It's not school camp.
And you finished your event.
And you're
you're a
done,
grown adult.
And you're a grown adult. I reckon you might have said ship off, Chief, if that had been the case. So they didn't venture out too much, but the other athletes...
Well, they were locked in the village.
They had a curfew, and they were told they weren't allowed anywhere near Copacabana after a certain period of time. One of the greatest places I've ever been is Copacabana. Ipanema, that part of the world is fantastic. So I think that was a bit overzealous.
Is it hard to see what sort of leverage they have over you when you're in an individual sport? They must control some purse strings when they get back, or there must be some sort of leverage.
Well, you're probably right. I think the fact that your accreditation and your visa and your accommodation is dictated by the team, and you probably want to do the right thing by the team. But
maybe just tin up for a backpackers the last couple of nights.
I think so. I think that's maybe what you would have done. If you're going back in the village, you're getting pissed and you're upsetting an athlete who's about to compete.
Exactly.
Then that's no good. But aside from that,
But Duke, if they were confined to the village, there must have been a bit of damage being done back there.
well, I'm assuming
There must
so.
have been some stories floating around.
If you've got your head down training for 4 years, you're done and dusted. That's your time to
big
just
release,
to let loose, particularly in a town that is known for having a good time.
I have been to a couple of closing ceremonies, Chief, and if that's what they had hanging over the athletes post their event, if you're not back on time, you're not going to the closing ceremony. I'm not back on time one night between that and the closing ceremony, because that is your snore fest.
Yeah.
The opening ceremony is brilliant as a rule, but the closing one, Duke, tends to be a rambling, shambolic style setup.
Well,
And as
McKeon, Jim, she actually sought the right to go back into that
Yes,
ceremony.
she did.
With a handwritten 2-page letter to your girl, Kitty, who I think you did ship
Not
off.
my girl.
You shipped her off.
Probably.
I think you did. I think you shipped her off the last 2 weeks, actually.
I think she needed to be shipped.
I think she did. It was disappointing, Juddy, because I think we think of ourselves as the great larrikin country and the great spirit. We were known as the great whingers on the ground over
won
there.
it by a mile.
And you get
Gold,
into a taxi,
silver and bronze.
and your Portuguese sort of taxi driver would see your Australian accreditation and go, "What's your problem?
Really?
Why do you complain so much? Why are you upset?" And we did a good job of not being in great favour over there because of it. It's the Poms no longer have the mantle as the great whingers. Australia is the great whinging country, unfortunately, on the world stage.
And not just externally either. We do a fair job of it just right here in Victoria.
It's a good point.
We've just completely lost our way. Duke.
We have.
At least we delivered, Jim.
What do you mean?
Not much.
Oh, as in the gold medal count. No, we were underwhelming there too. But the Foss, for me, Juddy, was onto this way before anyone else. He used to say this, didn't he, 10 years ago? This is a farcical joint. We get taxed for breathing. You're told what to do every time you turn a corner anywhere. You get fined. And I, at the time, used to think that was just the ramblings of a sort of incoherent old man. But now I actually think he was spot on and a long way before his time.
We've certainly moved away from people just being responsible for their own actions, haven't we?
That's it.
You know, if you in the old days, if you were stupid, you'd cop it for being stupid.
Where
Whereas
the
now there's a
consequence
sign,
of it.
or you can't
That's it.
buy your cigarettes, or everything's locked away. So
And there's an article written about it,
Anyway.
and the alarm gets whipped up, and suddenly you question every single thing you do, every second of every day.
We are the nanny state. There's no doubt about it. And it's very, I know you've travelled a lot overseas, Jaddy. Well, it's actually refreshing to go to a place where
No
you
one
don't get
gives us
told.
stuff.
If you step out of line and wander down the wrong street, you'll get some
Yeah.
summary justice your way. But aside from that, if you actually go out, you can do what you like. Just don't be a dickhead, and you're fine.